First contact's price. The mining vessel Sierra Madre wasn't built for first contact. Captain Sarah Chen knew this as she stared at the massive crystalline ship that had just emerged from what appeared to be a tear in space itself. The vessel hung against the backdrop of stars like a shard of diamond, its surface refracting the distant sunlight in ways that made her eyes hurt. "All stations, report," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The Sierra Madre, a converted oil rig designed for deep space mineral extraction, creaked around her as its ancient systems came to full alert. "Engineering stable, though I wouldn't recommend any sudden moves," Rodriguez called from below deck. These engines weren't meant for anything fancy. "Sensors picking up energy readings off the charts," Lai added from his station. "Whatever that ship is, it's putting out enough power to run Earth's grid for a century." Chen nodded, her mind racing through their options. They were 3 months out from the nearest military outpost, harvesting rare Earth elements from the Kuiper Belt's asteroids. The Sierra Madre's only weapons were mining lasers and a few point defense turrets meant for destroying incoming space debris. The alien vessel's surface rippled like water, and a beam of light shot forth, materializing into a holographic projection that filled the bridge. A figure appeared, tall, elegant with skin that seemed to shift colors like oil on water. Its 4 eyes blinked in sequence as it regarded them. "Primitive vessel," the being spoke, its words somehow perfectly translated into English. "You have entered territory claimed by the Vastrine Empire. Prepare for inspection and cataloging." Chen's jaw tightened. The Sierra Madre might be primitive by their standards, but she was still a human ship, and humanity hadn't survived on Earth by backing down from challenges. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth vessel Sierra Madre," she responded, standing tall. "We're conducting legal mining operations in international space. We mean no offense, but we don't recognize any empire's claim to this region." The alien's color-shifting skin darkened to a deep purple. "Your species' ignorance of galactic law does not exempt you from it. The Vastrine Empire has claimed this sector for 10,000 of your years. Submit to inspection, or face consequences." Chen glanced at her crew, 15 men and women who'd signed up for a dangerous but straightforward mining mission, not a diplomatic incident that could spark an interstellar war. But they all wore the same determined expression she felt on her own face. "With respect," Chen replied. "Earth vessels submit to inspection only by Earth authorities. We're happy to open diplomatic channels through proper." The alien's image flickered. "Your defiance is noted. Prepare for immediate boarding and asset seizure." Chen's hand slammed down on the ship-wide comm. "All hands, battle stations. Engineering, give me everything you've got. Tactical, power up the mining lasers. If they want to board us, they'll learn why humans are called Deathworlders." The crystalline ship began to move, its surface fragmenting into smaller vessels that surrounded the Sierra Madre like a swarm of geometric wasps. Chen watched as her crew scrambled to their positions, retrofitting mining equipment into makeshift weapons with the kind of improvisation humans had perfected over millennia of survival. "They're launching boarding craft," Lai reported, his fingers flying over his console. 3 incoming, but our point defense systems weren't designed for targets this small." Chen smiled grimly. "Then we'll give them something they weren't designed for either." Rodriguez, "Vent the ore processing chambers." Lai, "Calculate their approach vectors and time it with the release. Let's show them why picking a fight with humans is always a costly mistake." As the alien boarding craft approached, the Sierra Madre's ore processing chambers burst open, spraying clouds of superheated metal particles into space. The crystalline vessels, designed to deflect energy weapons and physical projectiles, found their surfaces scored and pitted by the microscopic fragments. "Direct hit," Lai shouted as one of the boarding craft spun out of control, its pristine surface now clouded and damaged. But Chen knew this was just the beginning. The main Vastrine vessel was already charging what looked like primary weapons, and the Sierra Madre wouldn't survive a direct hit. She opened a channel to Earth, knowing the message would take hours to reach home. This is Captain Chen of the Sierra Madre. First contact established with hostile alien force in the Kuiper Belt. They call themselves the Vastrine Empire. We're engaged in defensive actions, but we need immediate military support. Sending all sensor data. Whatever happens to us, Earth needs to be ready. They're coming. As she finished the transmission, Chen turned to her crew. Today we make history, one way or another. Let's show these Vastrines what happens when they underestimate humanity. The Sierra Madre's mining lasers powered up, their industrial-grade beams never meant for combat, but more than capable of cutting through ship hulls. They might be outgunned and outnumbered, but they would make this first contact one the Vastrine Empire would never forget. Humanity's first interstellar war was about to begin, and it would start with a mining ship that refused to submit. The last line of defense. Admiral James Donovan stood before the holographic display in Earth's Strategic Command Center, watching as hundreds of red dots appeared at the edge of the solar system. The Vastrine fleet had arrived sooner than anyone expected, barely 2 weeks after the Sierra Madre's distress signal reached Earth. Status of the civilian evacuation, he asked, his weathered face illuminated by the tactical display's glow. Colonel Naya Patel, his second-in-command, checked her datapad. Lunar and Mars colonies are at 80% evacuation. The mining stations in the asteroid belt are our biggest concern. We can't get everyone out in time. Donovan nodded grimly. After the Sierra Madre's encounter, Earth's governments had united with unprecedented speed, but their military capabilities were still limited. They had fewer than 50 warships, most of them designed for patrolling Earth orbit rather than deep space combat. What about Project Threshold? He asked, turning to Dr. Elena Santos, who stood nervously clutching her tablet. We've modified the electromagnetic shields used in our atmospheric reentry vehicles, she replied, her eyes bright with cautious optimism. The principle is similar to what saved the Sierra Madre. If we can't match their energy weapons, we'll use our understanding of particle physics against them. The Sierra Madre had survived its encounter by using superheated metal particles to confuse and damage the Vastrine ship's crystalline structure. Now, Earth's scientists were working around the clock to weaponize this discovery. Sir, a young lieutenant burst into the room. The Vastrian commander is broadcasting on all frequencies. They're demanding Earth's immediate surrender. Donovan straightened his uniform. Put them through. The holographic display shifted, showing the same type of being that had confronted the Sierra Madre. This one's skin shifted between deep crimson and gold, a sign of authority in their species. People of Earth, the alien began, its translated voice carrying a hint of disdain. Your primitive vessel's resistance was impressive but futile. Submit to Vastrine authority, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will reduce your civilization to atoms. Donovan stepped forward. This is Admiral James Donovan of the United Earth Defense Force. We've reviewed your demands and have a counter-proposal. Leave our solar system immediately, or discover why Earth species are feared throughout the galaxy's death worlds. The Vastrine commander's skin rippled with what might have been amusement. You have no concept of the forces you face. Our empire spans 1,000 star systems. Your entire fleet couldn't destroy a single one of our capital ships. Perhaps, Donovan replied. But we're not planning to destroy them. Colonel Patel, initiate Operation Blacksmith. Across the solar system, hundreds of civilian ships, freighters, mining vessels, and orbital construction platforms began powering up newly installed systems. Earth couldn't match the Vastrine's technology, but they could adapt their existing infrastructure in ways the aliens wouldn't expect. You're mobilizing civilian vessels. The Vastrine commander's skin shifted to a mottled pattern of disbelief. They have no military value. That's where you're wrong, Donovan smiled. Every human ship, every station, every satellite we've built has been designed to survive in what you consider extreme conditions. We've spent centuries learning to live in space the hard way. Now we'll show you what that means. The first wave of converted Earth ships moved into position. Mining vessels like the Sierra Madre, now equipped with modified electromagnetic shields and weaponized industrial equipment. Construction platforms whose assembly arms have been repurposed into point defense networks. Even passenger shuttles, their heat shields reinforced to generate disruptive electromagnetic fields. "This is your final warning," the Vastrian commander declared. "Submit or be destroyed." Donovan's response was to open a channel to all Earth forces. "All ships, execute Operation Blacksmith. Show them why humanity doesn't believe in no-win scenarios." The space between Earth and the approaching Vastrian fleet came alive with activity. Civilian ships moved in formations they'd practiced for just 2 weeks, but with the determination of a species that had survived everything their homeworld had thrown at them. The first shots fired weren't energy beams or plasma torpedoes, but clouds of magnetized particles from repurposed mining equipment. Construction lasers, modified to operate at frequencies that interfered with the Vastrian ship's crystalline structure. Electromagnetic pulses from satellites that had once been used to study solar flares. It wasn't elegant. It wasn't advanced. But it was human ingenuity at its finest. "Sir," Colonel Patul reported, "the Vastrian forward elements are showing signs of confusion. Their formations are breaking up." "They expected us to fight like them," Donovan replied. "Instead, we're fighting like us. Launch the second wave. Let's show them what happens when you back humanity into a corner." As the battle began in earnest, Donovan watched his improvised fleet move into action. They might not win this first engagement, but they would make the Vastrians remember why challenging humanity was always a costly mistake. The last line of defense wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was humanity's endless capacity to adapt, to survive, and to turn their limitations into advantages. The real war was just beginning, and Earth was ready to show the galaxy why they called it a death world. Operation Thunderstrike. Captain Marcus Jung crouched in the command center of Cirrus Base, converted from an abandoned mining facility into humanity's forward operating base in the asteroid belt. A holographic display showed the positions of 30 Vastrian patrol ships, their crystalline forms reflecting light as they searched for human resistance fighters. "They still haven't detected us," Lieutenant Emma Foster reported, her fingers dancing across the sensor controls. "The mineral composition of these asteroids completely masks our heat signatures." Zhang nodded, studying the tactical overlay. 3 weeks had passed since Earth's initial defense, and while they hadn't defeated the Vastrian fleet, they'd bloodied it enough to force a strategic pause. Now it was time to show the aliens why fighting humans in close quarters was a terrible idea. "Status of the mining drones?" he asked, turning to Chief Engineer Aisha Patel. "All 300 reprogrammed and ready," she replied with a fierce grin. "Those Vastrians won't know what hit them. Their fancy sensors can't tell the difference between our drones and regular mining equipment." The plan was audacious, perhaps even insane, but that made it perfectly human. They'd modified standard asteroid mining drones, turning them into autonomous weapons platforms. Each drone carried a payload of magnetized particles and electromagnetic pulse generators, the same technology that had proved so effective in the initial battles. "All teams, check in," Zhang ordered over the secure comm channel. "Strike Team Alpha. Ready." The response came from Sarah Chen, the former captain of the Sierra Madre, now leading one of their hit-and-run squadrons. "Strike Team Beta, in position." Commander Jackson's voice crackled through, his team hidden in a different section of the asteroid field. "Strike Team Charlie, good to go." Lieutenant Rodriguez, another Sierra Madre veteran, reported from his position. Zhang took a deep breath. "Remember, people, we're not trying to destroy their fleet. We just need to make them believe that operating in the asteroid belt is too costly. Initialize Operation Thunderstrike." Across the asteroid field, hundreds of mining drones activated simultaneously. To the Vastrian sensors, they would appear as routine maintenance equipment, the kind of background noise they'd learned to ignore during their occupation of the solar system. First wave launching, Foster announced, her voice tense with anticipation. The drones moved through the asteroid field with precision, their paths calculated to look like standard mining operations. Years of experience extracting resources in these treacherous conditions had taught humans how to navigate this cosmic obstacle course with unprecedented skill. The first Vastrian patrol ship never saw the attack coming. A dozen drones suddenly changed course, surrounding the crystalline vessel in a cloud of magnetized particles. The ship's defensive shields, designed to repel energy weapons, did nothing against the simple physics of magnetic attraction. Direct hit, Foster called out. Their propulsion systems are compromised. But Zhang knew they couldn't celebrate yet. All teams, execute Phase 2. The real genius of Operation Thunderstrike wasn't just the initial attack. It was what came next. As the Vastrian fleet responded to the first assault, they found themselves drawn deeper into the asteroid field. Every move they made triggered new drone attacks, forcing them to either retreat or risk being separated from their support units. "They're falling for it," Chen reported, her voice carrying a note of satisfaction. "Breaking up their formation, just like we predicted." The Vastrians' superior technology was becoming a liability. Their ships were too large, too unwieldy for the tight spaces between asteroids. Every evasive maneuver brought them closer to collision with the floating rocks, their automated systems struggling to cope with the chaotic environment. "Launch the EMPs," Zhang ordered as a group of Vastrian ships clustered together for protection. The electromagnetic pulses, generated by modified mining equipment, played havoc with the crystalline ship's sophisticated systems. What would have been a minor inconvenience for rugged human equipment proved devastating to the aliens' more advanced technology. "Sir," Foster called out, "they're trying to regroup at Sector 7. Zhang allowed himself a small smile. "Exactly where we want them." Chief Patel initialized the asteroid miners. Massive mining platforms, dormant until now, suddenly activated. Their powerful electromagnets, designed to hold them steady while drilling into asteroids, created overlapping fields that trapped the Vastrian ships in a web of magnetic force. "All strike teams," Zhang broadcast, "execute final phase." The human squadrons emerged from hiding, their ships modified with the lessons learned from 3 weeks of combat. They struck from multiple angles, using the asteroids as cover, their weapons targeted at the weak points they'd identified in the Vastrian ship's crystalline structure. "We've got them boxed in," Chen reported. "Their reinforcements can't reach them through the electromagnetic interference." John watched as the Vastrian fleet, for the first time since their arrival, began a full retreat from the asteroid belt. They'd learned a costly lesson about assuming technological superiority guaranteed victory. "All teams, stand down," he ordered. "But stay alert. They'll be back, and next time they'll be ready for these tactics." As the command center erupted in cheers, Zhang opened a channel to Earth Command. "Operation Thunderstrike successful. The asteroid belt is secured. But we need to prepare for their response. They won't underestimate us again." The battle was won, but Zhang knew the war was far from over. Still, humanity had proven something important today. That determination, ingenuity, and the willingness to fight dirty could overcome even the most advanced technology. The Vastrians were about to learn why humans had thrived on a death world, and why they never, ever gave up. The hidden advantage. Dr. Elena Santos stared at the medical readouts in disbelief. What had started as routine biological scans of Vastrian prisoners had led to a discovery that could change the course of the war. Behind her, Admiral Donovan and Colonel Patel waited patiently in the research lab aboard the orbital station Unity. "You're telling me their entire species evolved in low gravity?" Donovan asked, his eyes fixed on the holographic comparison between human and Vastrian physiologies. "Less than 1/3 of Earth's gravity," Santos confirmed, highlighting key differences in bone density and muscle structure. "Their crystalline technology isn't just aesthetic. It's a reflection of their evolutionary history. They developed in an environment where delicate structures could grow and thrive." Colonel Patel leaned forward, her military mind already calculating the implications. That's why they rely so heavily on energy shields and automated systems. Their bodies couldn't handle the kind of G-forces our pilots endure routinely. Santos nodded eagerly. Exactly. We've been so focused on catching up to their technology that we overlooked our greatest advantage. Our bodies are built for warfare in ways theirs simply aren't. The discovery explained much about the Vestrians' tactics, their preference for long-range combat, their reliance on automated systems, and their obvious surprise at humanity's aggressive maneuvering during space battles. What they saw as primitive and reckless was simply humans operating within their natural physical tolerances. How quickly can we exploit this? Donovan asked, already reaching for his comm unit. I've been working with the engineering team. Santos replied, pulling up new schematics. We can modify our ships to operate at even higher G-forces than before. Where Vestrian ships need to compensate for their crew's physical limitations, we can push our advantages to the extreme. The Admiral's eyes gleamed. Get me Captain Jung at Sarah's base. If we're going to implement these changes, we'll start with our asteroid belt forces. Within hours, the Unity had become a hive of activity. Engineers worked frantically to modify inertial dampeners, not to minimize G-forces as originally designed, but to allow human crews to safely operate at forces that would incapacitate or kill a Vestrian. Latest intelligence suggests they're massing for a major counteroffensive, Colonel Patol reported during the emergency command meeting. They're bringing in capital ships from 3 sectors, determined to crush our asteroid belt operations. Let them come, Donovan replied, studying the modified ship designs. Dr. Santos, how soon can we have the first squadron ready? The modifications are relatively simple, she answered. We're actually removing safety restrictions rather than adding complexity. 20 ships can be ready within 48 hours. The next 2 days passed in a blur of activity. Across the asteroid belt, human ships received their upgrades while crews trained to operate under the new parameters. The modifications were tested in short sprints at first, then longer durations as pilots and crews adapted to the increased stresses. Remember, Jung's voice echoed across the command channel, we're not just fighting with technology anymore. We're fighting with 3 billion years of evolution behind us. Every human out there is a weapon the Vestrians never saw coming. The Vestrian fleet arrived with the dawn of the 3rd day, their crystalline ships filling space with an otherworldly beauty. Their formation was perfect, their technology supreme, but they had no way of knowing they were about to face an enemy operating under entirely different physical laws. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta, Donovan ordered, his voice calm and measured. Show them what Death Worlders can really do. The human fleet moved with unprecedented aggression. Ships pulled turns that would have torn their Vestrian counterparts apart, accelerating and decelerating at forces that would have liquefied the alien crews. Each maneuver demonstrated the raw power of humanity's evolutionary heritage. They're trying to adjust their tactics, Paddle reported, watching the tactical display. But their ships can't match our maneuverability without compromising their crew's safety. The space around the asteroid belt became a demonstration of physics and biology in perfect harmony. Human ships darted between Vestrian formations, exploiting gaps that the aliens couldn't close without risking their own lives. Every engagement proved that superior technology meant nothing when you couldn't physically endure the demands of combat. Their fleet is falling back, Santos announced, monitoring the battle from her station. They're losing formation cohesion. Their automated systems can't compensate fast enough for our attack patterns. Donovan watched as the mighty Vestrian armada, faced with an enemy that defied their understanding of physical limitations, began a strategic withdrawal. They had come expecting to face primitive technology. Instead, they had encountered the culmination of evolution on a world that had forged humanity in gravity's crucible. Send word to Earth Command, he ordered. The biological advantage is confirmed. We need every ship in the fleet modified immediately. It's time to show the galaxy why Earth is called a death world. As the Vestrian fleet retreated, Donovan turned to Dr. Santos. You've given us more than an advantage. You've given us a future." The Vastrians thought their technology made them superior. Now they're learning that nature itself fought this war long before we did. The human fleet regrouped, preparing for the next phase of the war. They had discovered their hidden advantage, and with it, the key to survival. The galaxy was about to learn why challenging humanity meant facing not just their technology and determination, but 3 billion years of evolutionary triumph in one of the harshest environments in known space. Victory through unity. The massive holographic display in Earth's Strategic Command Center showed the entire solar system, now lit up with countless signals of battle. The Vastrian Empire had committed its full strength to what they hoped would be the final battle for Earth. Their crystalline ships filled space like a glittering storm, but humanity was ready. Admiral Donovan stood at the center of command, surrounded by the leaders who had guided humanity through 3 months of desperate warfare. Captain Chen of the Sierra Madre, Captain Zhang from the Asteroid Belt Campaign, Dr. Santos with her revolutionary insights into Vastrian biology, and Colonel Patel, whose tactical genius had saved countless lives. "They're deploying in a sphere," Patel observed, highlighting the Vastrian formation. "They're trying to cut off all possible escape routes. They still think we're looking for a way out." Chen replied with a grim smile. "They haven't realized that humans don't believe in no-win scenarios." The Vastrian commander's transmission cut through all channels, his skin shifting through patterns of absolute authority. "People of Earth, you have fought with admirable courage. But this ends now. Surrender, and we will preserve your species in a protected reserve world. Resist, and we will be forced to sterilize your entire system." Donovan straightened his uniform and stepped forward. "This is Admiral Donovan of the United Earth Defense Force. We've received your terms and have a counter-proposal. Look closely at what's happening to your fleet right now." Across the solar system, hundreds of small anomalies began appearing in the Vastrian formation. Their perfect sphere started developing tiny imperfections, almost imperceptible at first. "What is this?" the Vastrian commander demanded, his skin darkening with concern. "We learned something interesting about your crystalline technology." Dr. Santos spoke up, her voice calm and professional. "It's not just your ships, it's a reflection of your entire species. Beautiful, precise, and incredibly vulnerable to the right kind of pressure." The anomalies grew larger. Vastrian ships began reporting system malfunctions as clouds of seemingly harmless debris interfered with their sensors. But this wasn't like the earlier battles. This was something new. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or even our biological advantages," Donovan continued. "It's our ability to learn, adapt, and work together. Every battle taught us something new about your capabilities and limitations. Now, let us show you what we've learned." At his signal, the true nature of humanity's plan was revealed. Every piece of debris, every malfunctioning system, was part of a coordinated attack. Mining drones from the Asteroid Belt Campaign deployed electromagnetic pulses tuned to the exact frequency that disrupted crystalline structures. Modified civilian ships launched clouds of particles that weren't just magnetic now. They carried microscopic machines designed by Dr. Santos to exploit the Vastrians' biological vulnerabilities. "This is impossible," the Vastrian commander protested as his fleet's formation began to crumble. "Your technology is primitive. You cannot possibly." "Our technology might be primitive," Zhang interrupted, "but we've had 3 months to study yours. Every ship you lost, every battle you won, gave us more data, more understanding, more ways to turn your strengths into weaknesses." The human fleet moved in perfect coordination, executing maneuvers that would kill any Vastrian crew, but were well within human tolerances. Each ship carried weapons and defenses derived from simple mining tools, construction equipment, and other civilian technology, but optimized through bitter experience and scientific insight. "You're not just fighting our ships," Chen added. "You're fighting every lesson we learned on Earth, every predator we evolved to escape, every natural disaster we survived. every challenge that made us who we are. We're not just another spacefaring species, we're the children of a death world. The Vastrian fleet's coordination began to fail as their complex systems were overwhelmed by humanity's multi-pronged assault. Their perfect formations, reliant on advanced technology, couldn't adapt to the chaos humans had introduced into the battlefield. "Final warning," Donovan announced. "You can retreat now, return to your empire, and live with the knowledge that Earth is off-limits. Or you can continue this battle and learn firsthand why our world's history is written in the blood of those who underestimated us." For a long moment, silence filled the communications channels. The Vastrian commander's skin shifted through patterns never before seen by human eyes: confusion, respect, and perhaps a touch of fear. "Your species," the commander finally spoke, "is unlike any we have encountered in 10,000 years of expansion. We did not believe a death world could produce a spacefaring civilization. We were wrong." "We get that a lot," Donovan replied with a slight smile. "Now shall we discuss terms? Not of surrender, but of peace between equals." The Vastrian fleet began to withdraw, not in defeat, but in acknowledgement of a fundamental truth. Humanity had earned its place among the stars not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through the uniquely human combination of adaptation, determination, and unity. As the crystalline ships disappeared into hyperspace, leaving Earth's solar system free once again, Donovan turned to his team. "Send word to all ships and stations. Humanity's first interstellar war is over. We didn't just survive. We showed the galaxy why Earth species are respected and feared throughout known space." Dr. Santos smiled as she studied the final battle data. "They'll be back, you know, not as enemies, but as scholars. They'll want to understand how we did this." "Let them come," Chen replied. "We've got plenty more lessons to teach about underestimating humans." The war was over, but humanity's journey to the stars was just beginning. They had proven themselves not just worthy of survival, but capable of standing toe-to-toe with a galactic empire. The galaxy would never be the same, and neither would humanity.